arrested. We weren't at war with East Asia at all. It was Eurasia. It lasted 4 years, I think.
Another example. A serious delusion. Photographs about which you've had hallucinations, which you believed you held in your hand. They never existed. Say what you're about to say, Winston.
They exist. In memory. I remember. You remember.
I do not remember. Only the disciplined mind can see reality, Winston. It needs an act of self-destruction, an effort of the will. Do you remember writing in your diary, freedom is the freedom to say 2 + 2 = 4?
Yes.
How many fingers am I holding up, Winston?
4.
And if the party says there are not 4, but 5, then how many?
5.
That's no use. You're lying. How many fingers, please?
4. What else can I say? 5. Anything you like. Will you please stop it? Stop the pain.
You know, the more that I try to shift the focus of my channel from criticizing YouTube skeptics as apologists for the alt-right, and you know, I try to bypass them since the election of Trump, because I feel like actually confronting the alt-right movement, and that includes the alt-right as a whole, even the ones that have now demarcated themselves as the alt-right, meaning a xenophobic but not racist. How very European of them, the Western cultural supremacists who are willing to, are so liberal that they're willing to accept brown babies as long as those babies subscribe to their version of liberal Western democratic values. I seem to keep on running into a fucking impasse where before I can even get to criticizing the alt-right, I have to climb over 3 screeching skeptics who are defending the alt-right's position as a position of liberal tolerance. What do I mean by this? Well, I have noticed that any time that someone within the anti-fascist or social justice community, because we're all in the same little basket over here, we're all against Nazis. Every time one of us attacks the ideas of the alt-right, we get accused of Orwellian thought policing. Whenever we propose hate speech laws, we end up having to take shit about, people shouldn't be jailed for wrongthink. I want to give the skeptic community the benefit of the doubt and say that they either misunderstand Orwell, or are so drunk on their own identity as the arbiters and saviors of free speech, that they can't get a clear comprehension of what it means when something is Orwellian. You know, there's nothing libertarian or revolutionary about hate speech. Hate speech is not wrongthink. Wrongthink, in particularly in the book 1984, where that language comes from. Wrongthink, as enforced by the authoritarian regime in that book, is people who challenge the continuously shifting propaganda machine of the government or authority in general. We're gonna use that because within any structure, authoritarianism can exist, including YouTube. I think that the JonTron and PewDiePie thing was an example of how the people who have the biggest microphones on YouTube can redefine what things mean. The fact that skeptics can transform language, classical liberal, supplants conservative. The idea that the SJWs are the real authoritarians, even though SJWs don't actually have any power. That to me is what in 1984 and Orwell's writing in general was warning against. George Orwell was a socialist, but in his fundamentals, he was an anarchist. He was active during the Spanish Civil War, and he, just like a lot of anarchists at the time, was badly disillusioned when the Russian Revolution resulted in an authoritarian, communist, Stalinist regime. The idea that social justice warriors are going to become authoritarian communists because they want abundance of gender pronouns and want transgender people to be able to use the bathroom freely is incredibly far-fetched. But that seems to be the official narrative from the arbiters of truth on YouTube, the self-crowned skeptics. So if anything, in this equation, the torturer and propagandist O'Brien is the fucking skeptics. It is the people who claim to be arbiters of truth. They're the people who bend the meaning of words and exploit manipulated truth for profit. I think that with the rise of Patreon and monetized YouTube videos, with the end of the partner program, the skeptics have become a corrupt authoritarian establishment on this website. And they will enforce their official narrative, including deeming obvious white nationalist sentiment to be acceptable liberal thought experiments as long as it continues to make them money and keep them in power. Until the alt-right is, or at least alt-right sympathizers, are no longer a part of the viewer base for the skeptic community, so-called skeptic community on YouTube, we will not, as anti-fascists and leftists and social justice advocates, we will not be able to challenge the idea that tolerance includes the intolerant.